Okay.
Good morning, everybody. I'm Mindy with Snap NHD, Natural Hazard Disclosures. And I just want to share that, as everybody knows, you've heard me say for 20 years, isn't it interesting that the natural hazard disclosure industry is still not regulated? How can that be? Civil Code 1103.7 came out 31 years ago, making sure that the seller gives the natural hazard disclosure report to the buyer within 7 days of the accepted offer. The reason is that we disclose flood, fire, earthquake, liquefaction, landslide. It's very important to know what hazardous zones are affecting the property so that the buyer can determine if they want to move forward on the transaction or pull out before they keep moving forward. So I am here to keep you safe and protected. Snap has been in partnership with C.A.R. on their zip forms, second drop-down box for 8 years, 9 years. We are endorsed by them, approved by C.A.R., and that's why we're on the drop-down box. We have $10 million of E&O. It protects everybody in the transaction. Buyer, seller, listing agent, buyer's agent, TC if you use one, and escrow. So everybody's protected in our transaction. We have been working with Fortress Wildfire Disclosure Report for the last 4 years, rolling it out to the state of California because of AB 38. If you didn't realize, AB 38 was passed July of 2021. That's over 4 years ago. It was created to keep our beautiful state as safe as possible under vulnerable conditions like fire. So now more than ever, people in LA have a heightened awareness after the devastation that occurred in Altadena, also in the Pacific Palisades. When it gets a little closer to home, people get a little more nervous, a little more cautious, pay a little more attention instead of just saying for the last 20 years, that NHD, it's no big deal. Yeah, well, now the agents and their buyers are really paying attention. And the sellers in high fire zones know that they have certain requirements to be compliant. And that means defensible space inspections and home hardening to keep the house as safe as possible, reducing the vulnerability if, God forbid, there's a fire. We want the house to survive. We want everyone to be safe. So we're going to go through um, some fabulous slides with Michelle Cunningham, the marketing chief, sorry, chief marketing officer for Fortress Fire. And I'm so thrilled that she's with us today to go over what everyone really needs to know to stay safe and be compliant. So we're going to start off with a short video because I want everybody to know as soon as you get a listing and you want to know, am I in flood, fire, earthquake, and the 6 natural hazards that are on the statutory form? How do I know what's affecting the property? Get an NHD report as soon as the listing agreement is signed for free. You use it, you go through the whole transaction, and only pay for the report when escrow closes. No close, no pay. So isn't it a no-brainer to get it early? If you want to know, what about the open houses that my buyer wants to see this weekend? How do I know what's not in a flood zone or in a fire zone? Snap NHD has a great tool for free on our website called Hazards Preview. And all you have to do is put in a property address as if you're placing an order on our webpage, www.snapnhd.com. And for free, it pops up the 6 disclosures that are on the statutory form. So let's look at the video. You can see how simple it is to use, and you or your clients, your buyers, sellers, anyone can go for free on our website and check out what is basically occurring on this property. What is affecting the property? Okay, let's go. Should be music. Okay, thank you. I don't know what happened to the music. Usually there's some cool music behind that. Anybody who's watching this, if you'd like me to send the video to you directly and you can send it out to your clients, feel free to do so. Now I'm going to introduce Michelle. Thank you so much for joining us. She's the expert for Fortress Fire. I'm pretty good. I can answer a lot of questions, but she's got a great PowerPoint to really break down, why do you want the Fortress Fire report? It is extremely helpful when people want to know what do they need to do on their property to keep it safe and become compliant with AB 38, which, by the way, in the state of California, there are no homes at all in Central Coast or anywhere in the Southern California area that require a defensible space inspection to close escrow. Nothing requires it where we live. It is only in Northern California, the city of Truckee, the city of Paradise, and the whole county of El Dorado are the only places in our beautiful state that require a defensible space inspection at a point of sale, which means you have to do it before you close escrow. Everywhere else in California, you can delay it, and the buyer has 1 year from the day escrow closes to be compliant. And that's why Section 4 was added years ago to the Fire Hardening Defensible Space Advisory Form. So buyer and seller go into an agreement, and the buyer has a whole year. And this report, the Fortress Fire Report, is extremely helpful to be a roadmap to compliance, to help everybody feel more safe and comfortable. So take it away.
Mindy, thank you. Thanks to Rick and team for giving us the opportunity to provide a little bit of information about wildfire risk and ways that you as real estate professionals can help your clients, buy side or sell side, be more protected, insurable, and compliant. Would you move the next slide for me, Rick? Thank you. So just a moment about Fortress Fire. We are a California-based San Mateo headquartered company that was founded in the wake of the fires in 17, 18, 2020 and beyond to protect homes and commercial properties from wildfire. Our focus specifically is on creating more optionality in insurance, more availability, greater affordability in wildfire exposed areas. And it's a complicated set of issues and also stakeholders, and we try to bring objective data and transparency to all of the players in this, in this context: the property owners, realtors, insurers, and lenders, so that they can understand wildfire risk at an actionable level, and then are able to mitigate some of those vulnerabilities to improve their insurance and other outcomes. Next slide, please. I certainly don't have to underscore the challenge and the escalating risks of fire to real estate professionals in California. This is literally the epicenter of where that's happening, and these events are becoming more frequent, widespread, and severe. We're seeing issues. Our commercial and our residential clients, from non-renewals to to an inability to get insurance, anything other than the FAIR plan. And so we recognize all of those stakeholders, and that is why we have developed a set of tools to help bring objective data and ultimately an action plan to try to improve a property's wildfire profile. Next slide, please. And we can just keep rolling to the next. Okay, so our wildfire disclosure report is offered in partnership with C.A.R. and our strategic NHD distribution partners led by Snap. And this is a report that is available on the RPA form and can be ordered and billed to escrow, just like Mindy talked about with the core NHD reports. It is $140, and if escrow doesn't close, then essentially there is no cost to the order of that report. But specifically what we're doing is we are taking aerial images of a property, and we use multiple providers so that we can look for the best accuracy, as well as the most recent photos. We use machine learning to resolve all of the elements of that property. Again, this is parcel specific, and it includes the structure perimeter and all of the trees and other vegetation that would serve as fuel in the event of fire on that property. And then what we're doing essentially is, with this digital twin we've created, is we set it on fire. So if a fire comes to that property, what are the structural points of failure, and what are the fuels that would be contributing to the actual ignition of that structure? So go to the next slide, please. We look at we look at threat vectors in terms of the hazard from convective risk, which is flame, touch; radiant, which is projected heat energy like toasting a marshmallow; embers that could enter through screens of it; ember that lay secondary burn through, for example, on a roof; and then structure, which is the most of the greatest concern in particularly high density or urban areas. We then provide a score from 1 to 500 on the risk, kind of like a FICO score, but unlike your FICO score that you want are trees that would either need to be trimmed or removed in order to make that structure not ignite in the event of a fire passing the property. Next slide, please. We just talked about this. And the next. As you can see, it is available on the RPA form and has been since November of 2023. Next slide, please. We are also able to provide a secondary step, particularly if a home has a very high wildfire disclosure report score or is in a wildfire exposed area, or there's a desire to have that property assessed prior to the certifying inspection from CAL FIRE or a local fire authority. And this is in this inspection, we refine the findings of the aerial risk report to understand how far is that tree limbed up. Do we really need to, again, remove it, or can it be trimmed? Are there structure hardening actions that could take place, and what are the estimated costs of these vegetation or fuel management and structure hardening recommendations? And we do, for all of the wildfire disclosure report orders, credit that entire $140 against the cost of the on-site inspection. Next slide, please. There are 3 outputs from the inspection: a risk report, an inspection report, and a service order quotes. For many of our clients, they take those service order quotes because maybe they know a guy or they have someone who can already do that work. We've got some DIYers that use that information. And for some of our commercial clients, they're actually property management teams. This service order quotes are intended to provide that mitigation roadmap at a line item level. So regardless of whether it's contracted or self-performed, all of the vulnerability points can be addressed, making that property more protected, insurable, and compliant. Next slide, please. We do offer a monitoring and protection plan that is optional. Next slide. And we're also able to work with our clients on behalf of, in many cases, the property owner at this point, to identify additional insurance options. Our data has been used to negotiate better better coverage, more favorable rates, or even turn a no into a yes on a case-by-case basis. And we are working with multiple carriers to try to bring a more nuanced approach to understanding a property's specific risk, not just its CAL FIRE risk zone or USDA zone or California Public Utilities zone designations, because fire is happening on a property by property basis and not just based on the zip code or street where you reside. Next, please. And we do recognize that this information is used differently by the property owner or seller or the buyer. We see many wildfire disclosure reports ordered by the buyer at the point where they're determining whether or not to make an offer, what price to charge for that, or what price to offer for that property, whether they'll be seeking any concessions, and to help them secure homeowners insurance as part of that pre-closing process. But I definitely underscore Mindy's recommendation that getting this information as early in the process as possible is really the best practice, even at the time of listing. We also see many of our buyers using this information after closing, because there's the fog of escrow can make can pass very quickly, and it's really only after closing that they may be looking for that certifying inspection and preparing for perhaps additional insurance opportunities after they have taken possession and made improvements to that property. Next slide, please. We've got some customer quotes. This is definitely something that has been embraced both by buyers and sellers for the aerial risk reports as well as the on-site inspections. Next slide. And yeah, here in fact is a homeowner who used the wildfire disclosure report after receiving a significant increase in their renewal premium, that after generating the report, getting an inspection, and using the mitigation recommendations to do the work of structure hardening and vegetation management, was able to work with their agent, the information from the report and the photos of their recently completed mitigations, to secure a reduction from the premium increase that they were had been initially quoted. And Mindy, I think that's the end of the slides for this presentation. I think we had some additional information in this version, but I think we've walked through the value of the wildfire disclosure report, the opportunities to embellish that with inspections and other programs, but this is a program that's been in place for 2 years, and with C.A.R. and our NHD partners, we have seen a lot of positive adoption, and we continue to be resources to realtors who are looking to understand and to guide their clients appropriately.
Exactly. And what I've been finding is people call and say, okay, the property's in a fire zone. Snap NHD has in the report a link so that the homeowner can click on it, make it super easy to request the defensible space inspection. Here's what's going on. A lot of the fire departments that are doing the local fire inspections, they're really behind. It might take them a whole week to 3 weeks just to get back to you and schedule a date. It might be fast. In some situations, it might be in a week. Other situations, it might be in 3 to 4 weeks. What if you have a 30 to 45 day escrow? What if the buyer is scared to move forward because they don't know what to do on the property to make sure they're AB 38 compliant, even though they have a whole year from the day escrow closes? So the Fortress Fire Report, from my perspective, has been extremely helpful to kind of hold the hand of buyer seller. This is what needs to be done on the property. You have a year to do so, but now you know, prior to getting the physical inspection on the property, what are you walking into? So that when people started asking just off the top of their head, oh, I need a compensation, I need a credit, You know, it might cost me 10 grand to do this work. Well, what if it only costs $1,500? You know, the seller doesn't want to give up all that money. So I do have a suggestion that I heard about a month ago from an agent who works with a lot of investors. They're flipping homes. A lot of them are in fire zones. Seller, investor doesn't want to be basically responsible for doing the work. So they're ordering this report so that they can pass it along to the new homeowner and then put money into escrow, 3 grand, 5 grand, whatever's decided and negotiated, just like price. And that money can sit in there for a year so the buyer can use the seller's money to do the work, not their own. And whatever's left over goes back to the seller within a year. What a great idea. It helps diffuse all these issues. So the whole purpose of this is to keep selling real estate, right? Not have people freaked out to not buy in a fire zone when 22% more of our state went into a fire zone on a local level. When all the maps were updated by CAL FIRE, took them over a year to do so. So 485 cities were addressed and 22% more is in a fire zone. Just let that sink in. You know, it's hard to get insurance, it's expensive, and now it's even more difficult. So help yourself, help your clients, be proactive, and do what you need to be safe. And then just keep selling real estate. So here's my contact information. Oops. There we go. If you need any help, I'm always available. Those of you that know me know I answer my phone weekends, evenings, and I'm here to help you. So let's keep selling real estate. And if there's anything I can do to be of service, I'm always available. And I have Michelle in my back pocket, and we're here to guide you. So thank you so much for joining us. And we look forward to seeing you soon. Thank you. Thanks, Rick.